Ilara was just a boy, a simple village boy. His life was nothing special. Every day he woke up to do chores. He helped the villagers, worked the fields, fetched water, and carried firewood. His nights, full of dreams of adventure, of faraway lands, of creatures straight out of legends. But those were just dreams. His world was small. His village was small. There was nothing exciting here, nothing magical, nothing that could ever match the stories he heard as a child. Yet, deep inside, Ilara longed for something more, something different, something extraordinary. He often stared at the distant woods, the forbidden woods. They were dark and thick. No one went there. The elders warned the children. "Stay away," they said. "Those woods are cursed." But on a stormy night, everything changed. The sky was alive with lightning. Thunder cracked like a whip across the heavens. Ilara stood at the edge of the woods, watching the storm rage above. The wind howled, pushing him toward the trees. His heart raced. This was it. The forbidden woods, the place he was told to never go. But tonight, the storm was too fierce. The rain was relentless. Ilara needed shelter. Without thinking, he stepped forward, one foot into the woods, then another. The storm behind him seemed to disappear as the trees swallowed him whole. The air inside was thick with mist. The ground was wet, and the forest seemed to press in on him. There was no turning back now. Ilara walked, his heart pounding in his chest. Every step felt like a step into the unknown. The storm raged louder above, but inside the woods it was eerily quiet. Not a bird, not a sound, just the rustling of leaves underfoot. Then, through the thick trees, he saw it a cave, dark, hidden in the shadows of the mountain. It called to him. Ilara hesitated, but only for a moment. He moved toward it, drawn by something he couldn't explain. He stepped inside. The rain pounded the cave entrance, but inside it was warm and dry. Ilara's eyes adjusted to the darkness. His breath came in shallow gasps. He wasn't sure why. Something felt ... off. The silence was suffocating. And then he saw it. A massive shape lying in the shadows. Someone was there. His heart skipped a beat. It was a dragon, but not like the ones in the stories. This dragon wasn't soaring through the sky, breathing fire. No, this dragon was lying on the ground, injured, dying. Its emerald scales, once vibrant, were now dull and stained with dark blood. Its body was enormous, taking up nearly the entire cave. Ilara froze, his breath catching in his throat. Was it real? Or was his mind playing tricks on him in the darkness? Dragon's chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. It wasn't moving much. But its golden eyes, its large, glowing golden eyes, were wide open. They were fixed on Ilara. For a moment, neither of them moved. Fear surged through Ilara, but so did something else, something deeper, something he couldn't understand. It wasn't fear. It was ... empathy. He wanted to run. His legs wouldn't move. He was rooted to the spot. The dragon's eyes never left his. They were full of sorrow, full of pain. No fire, no anger, just sadness. Then slowly it shifted. The dragon lifted its head slightly. It seemed to be trying to say something, but its breath was too labored. Ilara, trembling, took a step closer. He couldn't explain why. It was as if the dragon was calling to him, reaching out to him. He slowly extended a hand. His fingers hovered over the dragon's snout. The scales were cool to the touch, smooth. As soon as his hand made contact, a strange jolt ran through him. It was like static electricity, but 1,000 times stronger. The dragon let out a soft rumble, vibrating through Ilara's bones. It wasn't a growl. It was a sound of acceptance, of peace. Ilara didn't pull his hand away. Instead, he stayed there, watching the dragon. His heart raced. What was happening? Was this real? The storm outside raged louder, but here in this cave. It was as if time had stopped. Everything was still. And then, just as Alara was about to speak, to say something, anything, the dragon's golden eye flickered. It seemed to speak without words. There was something in its gaze. A pleading. A final request. Ilara's breath caught in his throat. The dragon's eye closed slowly, and everything went dark. Asterisk. What did the dragon want? Why had it looked at Alara like that? What was the strange feeling growing inside him? Alara had to know. But the answers were still far away, hidden in the dragon's last gaze. Asterisk. Alara stood in the dark, trembling. The dragon's golden eye had closed, and its massive form was still. Its breathing, once ragged and shallow, had stopped completely. For a long moment, Alara didn't move, couldn't. He felt as if the world had paused, holding its breath. The dragon, this magnificent creature, was gone, but was it? Elara's hand still rested on the dragon's cool snout. The strange energy that had surged through him when they first touched still lingered in his fingers. It was warm now, a faint glow that seemed to pulse with life. It wasn't like anything he had ever felt before. It was as if the very earth around him was alive, speaking to him, pulling him in. The silence of the cave was suffocating. The storm outside raged louder, but here, in the presence of the dragon, everything was quiet. The wind howled, but Alara couldn't hear it. For a moment, Alara didn't know what to do. The dragon was dead, yet he felt an undeniable connection to it. Couldn't explain it, but it was there. Deep within him, a bond had formed when he couldn't break. He pulled his hand away slowly, his heart heavy with grief. He felt alone, more alone than he had ever felt before, despite being in the company of a creature that had once been alive. But just as Alara stepped back, something strange happened. A soft, ethereal light began to glow from the dragon's chest. At first it was faint, like the glimmer of a star on a dark night. But then it grew. The light pulsed with a steady rhythm, matching the deep, rhythmic sound of Alara's own heartbeat. It was as if the dragon's soul was still here, inside the light. It wasn't gone. Ilara's breath caught in his throat. He took a step closer. His fingers tingled, drawn to the light. What was happening? The dragon was dead. He had seen it with his own eyes. Yet the light remained, flickering in time with something far deeper, without thinking. Alara reached out again, this time towards the glowing light on the dragon's chest. The moment his palm touched it, a shockwave of energy surged through him. It was as if every cell in his body was charged with power, like the dragon's life force was flooding into him. And then the visions came. Ilara's mind exploded with images. They weren't just memories, they were experiences, feelings, moments that didn't belong to him. He saw the world through the dragon's eyes. He was soaring above mountains, feeling the wind rush under his wings. The ground was far below, and the skies were endless. He felt the freedom, the power, the majesty of being a dragon. He could smell the crisp air, the scent of pine trees, the cold of high altitudes. He saw ancient battles, dragons fighting side by side, their flames not of destruction, but of creation. The skies filled with their fire, turning barren lands into fertile soil. It was beautiful, but also violent. And then, as quickly as the visions came, they vanished. Alara was left gasping for breath, his body trembling from the intensity of it all. He could still feel the dragon's power inside him. It was alive. It was in him. He could feel it pulsing through his veins, like fire flowing beneath his skin. But there was more. The dragon's memories were not all light and wonder. There were shadows in those memories, moments of sorrow, of loss. The dragon had been the last of its kind. It had lived for centuries, watched as its kin were hunted and destroyed, one by one, till only it remained. Alara felt the weight of that loneliness, the burden of being the last of something so powerful, so ancient. It was a loneliness Alara couldn't yet understand, but he could feel it. The dragon had carried that burden for so long, and now it was his. The light from the dragon's chest flickered, as though it were struggling to stay alive. Lara took a step back, his chest tight. He couldn't understand what was happening. Why had the dragon chosen him? Why had it shared its memories, its essence with him? As the light began to fade, the dragon's massive body shuddered. Alara's heart raced. Was it dying for real this time, or was something else happening? And then, with one final pulse of energy, the light exploded outward. It wasn't painful, but it was overwhelming. Alara felt as if he were drowning in power, in magic, in the dragon's soul. His body was alive with fire, but it wasn't his own. The dragon had passed its life into him. When the light faded, everything was still again, but Alara felt different, felt changed. He took a deep breath. His hands were glowing faintly, a soft golden light radiating from his skin. He was no longer just a boy. But what did that mean? The cave was silent again. The dragon was gone. But Alara wasn't alone. Alara stood in the cave, his body glowing with the dragon's power. He didn't know what to do with it. He didn't know what the dragon's last gift meant. But one thing was certain. His life would never be the same again. Alara stood in the cave, his hands still glowing with the faint golden light. The air around him felt thick, charged with energy, but there was no noise, no sound. It was as though the world had paused, waiting for him to understand what had just happened. His heart was racing, and his mind was a blur. He couldn't make sense of it all. The dragon had given him its power, its essence, its soul. And now he was left standing in the aftermath, alone, and filled with an energy he had never known before. Slowly, he looked around the cave. The storm outside still raged on, but inside, it was still. He could feel the weight of the silence pressing in on him. His thoughts were racing. How could this be real? How could he, a simple village boy, now carry the power of a dragon inside him? His fingers tingled and he looked down at them. The golden light was still faint, but it was there glowing softly, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He raised his hand and with a deep breath focused on the light. For a moment nothing happened. But then a flicker of flame appeared. In his palm, a golden flame. It didn't burn him, didn't hurt, felt natural. It was like an extension of himself, like it had always been there. He couldn't explain it, but it felt right. Alara stared at the flame, mesmerized. This was the dragon's fire. It was in him now. He had felt the power of the dragon's flame surging through his body, filling him with strength and purpose. But what was he supposed to do with it? He clenched his fist, and the flame flickered out. A surge of energy ran through him, but this time it wasn't controlled. It was wild, chaotic. He stumbled, almost losing his balance as his body reacted to the power inside him. This was more than just flame. It was magic. A power beyond anything he had ever imagined. And it was coursing through him like a river trying to break free of its banks. He needed to learn control. He couldn't let it control him. Taking a deep breath, Alara focused again. He held out his hand and concentrated on the flame. This time, the light flickered and stabilized, casting a warm glow around him. For a long time, Alara stood there, watching the flame dance in his palm. He felt the power within him, felt the energy that seemed to hum beneath his skin. It was like he could feel everything, every leaf in the forest, every rustle of wind, every pulse of life. He could sense it all, but as quickly as it had come, the feeling faded. The flame in his hand flickered and died, and with it, the energy inside him seemed to settle. Alara let out a long breath. His heart was still racing, but there was a sense of calm now. He closed his eyes, trying to focus, trying to gather his thoughts. The dragon's memories were still there, lingering in the back of his mind. The battles, the soaring skies, the endless loneliness. The weight of the dragon's legacy pressed down on him, heavy and unyielding. Alara opened his eyes and looked. Around, the cave was silent. Still, the dragon was gone, but its spirit was inside him now. and with it came a warning of darkness. The dragon's final gift was not just power, it was a call to action. The world was in danger, and Alara knew he had to protect it. But how? His mind raced. He couldn't go back to his old life. He couldn't go back to the village. Not now. Not. When the weight of the world was on his shoulders, he had no idea where to begin, what to do. The dragon had given him its power, its strength, but it had also given him its sorrow, its burden. Alara had inherited more than just the dragon's fire. He had inherited its pain, its loneliness. He was no longer just a boy from a small village. He was something else now. He was the last of the dragon's legacy. And with that came a responsibility he didn't fully understand yet. But he knew one thing for sure. He could not stay here. The storm outside was dying down, and the first rays of dawn were breaking through the clouds. Ow! World was waking up, and Alara had a choice to make. He could go back to his village, continue his simple life, or he could step into the unknown. With all the power and the weight of the dragon's legacy inside him, he knew what he had to do. With one last glance at the dragon's body, Alara turned and walked toward the mouth of the cave. The light from his hands flickered softly as he stepped into the new day. The world was waiting for him, but what would he find? How would he be ready to face what was coming? Alara stepped out of the cave, his heart heavy with uncertainty. The world had changed, and so had he. But was he ready for the journey ahead? Was he strong enough to face the darkness that was rising? Alara stepped out of the cave and into the dawn's first light. The storm had passed, and the world was eerily quiet. The air was fresh, tinged with the scent of rain-soaked earth and pine. He felt the weight of the morning sun on his face. But it wasn't the sun that he felt most hit, it was the power surging inside him. The dragon's fire still burning faintly beneath his skin. His fingers twitched, and he clenched his hands into fists. The golden flame from the cave still lingered within him. But it was different now. Fainter, but still there, waiting to be unleashed. The weight of what had happened in the cave, the memory of the dragon, hung heavy on him. He didn't know where to go or what to do next. Alara walked slowly, almost aimlessly, through the woods, his thoughts swirling. He kept looking down at his hands, expecting to see the glowing light, but it was gone, leaving only a faint warmth in its place. The dragon's soul, its power, was still with him, but he didn't know how to fully access it. The flame, the power, it was part of him now, but part of him still felt lost. The village seemed so far away. His life there felt like a distant memory, a life he no longer fit into. He couldn't return to the small, quiet life he had known before. The world outside was too big, too dangerous. And now, with the dragon's power inside him, it was as if the world was calling to him. A rustling in the bushes ahead broke his thoughts. Alara tensed, every muscle in his body going still. He felt the shift of energy, the pulse of life surrounding him. It was like he could hear the heartbeat of the forest, feel the presence of every living creature. Then, out of the shadows, stepped a figure. A woman. She wore a hooded cloak, her face shadowed beneath the fabric. Her movements were smooth, deliberate. She looked at Alara with eyes that seemed to see right through him. "You're the one," she said softly, her voice calm but firm. The dragon's heir? Alara froze. He had never seen this woman before, but there was something in her eyes that told him she knew exactly what he was, what he had become. "You know what I am?" he asked, his voice shaky. She nodded, taking a step closer. "I've been watching you. I know what happened in the cave, and I know what's coming." Alara felt a chill run down his spine. How could she possibly know about the dragon? How could she know what had happened? You were there?" he asked, his heart pounding. "No," the woman said. "I felt it. I felt the shift when the dragon's soul passed to you. Its power, its legacy. The balance of the world is changing, and you have a part to play in it. Whether you're ready or not." Alara swallowed, trying to steady his breath. "What do you mean? What's happening?" The darkness is stirring, she said, her eyes narrowing. The same darkness that hunted the dragons to extinction. It's returning, and it's coming for you. Alara's heart skipped a beat. He thought of the visions the dragon had shown him, the battles, the flames, the skies full of dragons. The feeling of being hunted. The loneliness of being the last. Clenched his fists, trying to focus. The flame, the power, the connection to the dragonite was all still inside him, but he didn't know how to control it. He wasn't ready. The woman studied him, her gaze piercing, as if she were searching for something within him. Then she spoke again, her voice quieter this time. You can feel it, can't you? The pull, the energy. It's in you, and it's not something you can ignore. You are the last hope for this world. The dragon chose you for a reason. Alara felt a heavy weight settle in his chest. I don't even know how to use this power. He admitted, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. You will learn, she said simply. But first, you must understand something. The darkness doesn't just seek to destroy. It seeks to control. And you are its greatest threat. That is why it is coming for you. Alara stood silent, processing her words. The darkness. It was something more than just a force. It was a living, breathing entity. Something ancient. Something that had hunted the dragons. And now, it was coming for him. I don't understand, Alara said, shaking his head. How can I fight something like that? You don't have to fight it with brute strength, she said. You have something more powerful than that. You have the dragon's legacy, the fire, the wisdom, the strength. But you must learn to control it. Only then will you be ready. Alara looked at her, his heart racing. How do I learn? Who can teach me? The woman stepped closer, her face still hidden beneath the hood. I will. I have been waiting for you. Waiting for the one who would carry the dragon's soul. You are not alone. The world is larger than you know, and there are others who will help you. But you must trust them and yourself. Alara's thoughts were a storm. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. He wasn't just a village boy anymore. He was the heir to the dragon's power, the last of its kind. And now, a darkness was coming for him, but he wasn't ready. And yet, there was no choice. The world was changing, and Alara had to change with it. Alara felt a shift in the air, a sense of urgency he couldn't explain. The woman's words echoed in his mind. The darkness was coming for him. But how could he face it when he wasn't even sure who he was anymore? Alara stood still, his mind racing. The woman in the hood had vanished into the shadows as quickly as she had appeared. Her words lingered in the air, like a storm gathering on the horizon. The darkness is coming for you, she had said. You are its greatest threat. But how could he, a simple boy from a small village, face something as ancient and powerful as the darkness she spoke of? He had no training, no weapons, nothing but the power of a dragon that he barely understood. How could he possibly be the one to stop it? He walked through the forest, his steps slow and heavy. The golden light that had once pulsed within him had dimmed, leaving him feeling hollow, unsure of what to do next. His hands still tingled with the faint remnants of the dragon's power, but it felt distant now, like a memory slipping through his fingers. He had to learn how to use it. He had to find a way to control it. But how? The forest around him was alive with sounds, the rustle of leaves, the chirping of birds, the distant call of a wolf. But it all felt so far away, as if he were in a dream. The world was still the same, but he was not. He was different now. The dragon had passed its legacy to him, and with it came a responsibility he didn't fully understand. Alara stopped by a stream, the water rushing over rocks with a soothing sound. He knelt down and cupped his hands to drink, his reflection rippling in the water. For the first time since the cave, he felt something other than fear and confusion. There was something in the water, something in his eyes that made him pause. Strange warmth spread from his chest, radiating outward like a pulse. He looked at his hands, and for a brief moment, The golden glow returned. It flickered like a flame on the verge of being extinguished, but it was there. Ilara closed his eyes, trying to focus. The dragon's power was still inside him. He could feel it, a part of him. He knew it was there. But how did he make it come alive again? A noise behind him made him turn. There, emerging from the trees, was the woman in the cloak again. She moved silently like a shadow in the forest. She approached him without a word, her eyes scanning him carefully. "You're trying to control it, aren't you?" she asked, her voice calm but filled with knowing. Ilara didn't answer right away. He didn't have the words for it. He didn't understand what he was trying to do either. But the fire inside him, it was still there. He could feel it, like a spark ready to burn. "You can't just will it," the woman said, reading his thoughts. "You have to connect with it. It's a part of you now. The dragon's soul is inside you. It's not a tool to be wielded. It's a legacy, a living, breathing part of you." Lara nodded slowly, trying to make sense of her words. He had never been taught magic. He had never been trained for anything like this. How could he possibly connect with something as powerful as a dragon's soul? The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving his. "You've already felt it, haven't you? The fire in your chest, the heat in your hands. That's the dragon's power. But it's not just about fire, it's about understanding. You have to listen to it, feel it. It's ancient, it's wise." Lorray looked down at his hands again. His palms were warm, as though the fire inside him were waking. He could feel it. It was like the dragon's heartbeat, pulsing in his veins. He clenched his fists, and the fire flickered. The woman's gaze softened. "The first test is already begun. Can you control it, Ilara? Can you listen to the dragon inside you? Or will it control you?" Ilara's chest tightened. He didn't know if he could do it, but he had to try. He closed his eyes, taking a deep breath. He focused on the feeling, the warmth, the pulse, the rhythm inside him. The dragon's fire. The dragon's soul. He felt it within his chest, a burning ember. He felt the power, not as something separate, but as a part of him, a part of his very being. And then, slowly, he reached out with his mind. He didn't try to force the power. He didn't try to command it. Instead, he listened. At first, there was nothing. But then he felt it. A flicker. A spark of energy. His heart raced as the flame began to flicker in his hands. It was weak at first. Barely a wisp of light, but it was there. Ilara opened his eyes, his breath coming faster now. The fire in his hands was small, but it was there, golden and warm. A flame that didn't burn, but lived. He smiled. He had done it. He had connected. The fire was a part of him now, not just something to control. He could feel it, like an extension of his own soul. The woman nodded in approval. "You've made the first step. This is just the beginning. The darkness is still out there, and you are not ready yet, but you're getting there." Ilara nodded, his chest swelling with something he hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Alar stood there, the golden flame flickering in his hands. He had taken the first step, but there was still so much more to learn. Was he ready for the challenges ahead? The darkness was out there, but could he control the fire within him in time to face it? The air around Ilara felt heavy as he stared at the woman before him. The golden flame in his hands flickered softly, casting dancing shadows across their faces. He had taken the first step. He had connected with the dragon's fire. But the words she had spoken weighed on him. The darkness is still out there. She had said he wasn't ready, and Ilara felt it deep in his bones. He had made progress, but he didn't know how to face what was coming. The power within him was growing, but so was the fear. The woman's gaze softened, as if she had read the turmoil in his heart. She stepped closer, her presence calm but commanding. "There's more you need to know, Ilara," she said, her voice low but firm. "The darkness isn't just some force of nature. It's not just something you can fight with fire and strength. It's a being. It has a will, a mind of its own, and it has been waiting for you. Alara frowned, confusion flickering across his face. Waiting for me? His voice was thick with disbelief. But why? Why would it be after me? She nodded gravely. Because you are the last of the dragon's blood. The darkness knows what you are, Alara. It knows the power you carry, the legacy inside you. The dragon's soul is alive within you, and that makes you a threat to it. The last dragon's fire is something it fears. A chill ran down Alara's spine. The dragon's soul, its power, it's part of him now. But what did that mean? Why had it chosen him? And why was the darkness after him? The woman's eyes narrowed, her expression hardening. The darkness was once a force of destruction, born from the very void of the world. It consumed everything. In its pathland, life, light. But it was stopped by the dragons. The dragons, with their power of creation, held the darkness at bay. But when they were hunted to extinction, the darkness thought it had won. Ilara's mind raced. The dragons had stopped it. That was why they were hunted. That was why the darkness had killed them all. But why had it left the last dragon alive? Why had it come for him now? The darkness has been lying in wait, the woman continued, her voice steady. It feeds on fear, on destruction. It thrives in chaos. And now it is trying to awaken again. But this time it has a plan. This time it will not be stopped. So easily Alara felt a pang of dread. You want me to stop it? He shook his head, the weight of her words sinking in. I can't. I don't even know how to control the fire inside me. How can I stop something so ... so powerful? The woman studied him for a long moment before answering. You already have the first piece, Alara, the dragon's fire. But that's not all. True power of the dragons was not just in their flames, but in their connection to the world itself. They were not just creatures of fire. They were creatures of life, of balance. They understood the flow of energy in all things. The fire is just the beginning. You must learn to connect with the world, to feel the life force that flows through everything. Alara swallowed hard. It sounded like magic. It sounded like something that was beyond him. He had never been trained in magic, never even imagined he could have such power. And now, the woman was telling him he needed to learn something even greater, something that could save the world from the very darkness that had destroyed the dragons. The woman reached out, her hand touching his shoulder gently. You will learn, Alara. You have no choice. The darkness is already stirring. It has begun to move, to awaken. It knows you're here, and it's coming for you. A shiver ran down Alara's spine, and he looked at her, his eyes wide with fear. How long do I have? Not long, she replied softly. The darkness moves swiftly, and it will seek to destroy everything in its path. But you have something it doesn't, something that can stop it. Lara didn't understand. What do I have? I don't even know how to control the fire inside me. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. The woman's eyes softened, but there was a flicker of determination in them. You have the dragon's spirit within you, Alara, the dragon's wisdom. You carry their memories, their strength. But you must learn how to use it. You must learn to tap into that power and connect with the world around you.
Ow.
The darkness can only be defeated when the balance is restored. And you are the key. Alara felt the weight of her words, but also a surge of something deep within him. He wasn't just carrying the dragon's fire. He was carrying its will, its legacy. And if that legacy could stop the darkness, then maybe, just maybe, he could do it. You are not alone in this, the woman added quietly. There are others who will help you, but you must be ready. The darkness is already hunting. Alara nodded, a newfound determination rising within him. He wasn't ready, not yet, but he would be. He had no choice. The fire inside him was only the beginning. He would learn, and he would fight. The darkness was coming, and Alara knew that his journey had only just begun. The fire inside him flickered, brighter, But would it be enough? Lara's thoughts were a whirlwind as he stood in the clearing, his hands still warm from the golden fire that seemed to flicker just beneath the surface of his skin. The woman had told him that the darkness was coming for him, for the last of the dragon's blood. She had said the world was changing, that he had to learn to control the power within him, but the power felt like a storm inside him, fierce. Untamed, every time he tried to focus on it, it slipped away, like trying to catch a wave in the middle of a storm. Now, standing in the forest, Ilara felt the pull of the world around him. The leaves rustled in the wind, the air was thick with energy, and the ground beneath his feet seemed to hum with life. The forest was alive, and Ilara could feel its pulse. It was like he was one with everything, every tree, every animal, every gust of wind. But that was the problem. He didn't know how to control it. He couldn't focus. The dragon's power was in him, but it felt like a fire he couldn't tame. He shook his head, trying to clear his mind. He couldn't let doubt control him. He had to be ready. He had no choice. The woman had given him one last piece of advice. Before leaving him to train on his own, control your fear, and you control the fire. The darkness feeds on fear. Use it against it. But how could he control something that felt so wild? How could he face the darkness that was already moving, already stirring? A rustle in the trees made Ilara tense. His heart skipped a beat. Was it the darkness, or something else? The woman's words echoed in his mind. The darkness is swift. It will find you, but you can stop it if you learn. The forest fell silent for a moment. And then, through the trees, a figure stepped into the clearing. Ilara froze. A mano, a creature emerged from the shadows. His eyes glowed with a deep red hue, and his skin was dark, like shadow itself. The creature was tall, standing nearly twice Ilara's height, with jagged scars across its chest and arms. It wore black, tattered armor that seemed to be stitched from the very darkness of the forest itself. Yet the air around it crackled with an oppressive, malevolent energy. Ilara's heart raced. Ilara's wasn't just a creature, it was a warrior, a soldier of the darkness. The figure's eyes locked onto him, and Ilara felt a chill wash over him. The creature's gaze was full of malice, as if it had been sent to hunt him down. "You are the last of the dragons," the creature spoke, its voice low and menacing. "You are the heir to the fire. I've been sent to see if you're worthy of the power you carry. To see if you'll be able to stop the darkness." Ilara stood, his legs shaking. He could feel the dragon's power inside him swirling like a storm, but the fear the darkness gnawed him. He had to stay calm. He had to focus. "Who are you?" Ilara demanded, trying to sound braver than he felt. "What do you want?" Ow. The creature's smile was cold, full of sharp teeth. "I am a servant of the darkness. I've come to test you, Ilara. You may carry the dragon's fire, but it will not be enough. Not without control. Not without strength." With a sudden motion, the creature raised a hand, and a dark energy shot toward Ilara, fast as lightning. Instinctively, Ilara raised his own hand. The golden flame flared to life in his palm. The two energies collided with a deafening crash, sending shockwaves through the clearing. Ilara's arm shook with the force, but he gritted his teeth, holding on. The darkness pushed against him, trying to swallow him whole. But Ilara felt the fire inside him. It burned brighter, fed by his anger, his fear, and his determination. "No," Ilara shouted, his voice breaking through the roar of energy. "I won't let you win," he focused, calling on the dragon's fire once again. This time, he listened. He didn't just try to control it, he embraced it. The flame in his hand grew, swirling with golden light, until it became a raging inferno. The creature's dark energy faltered as Ilara's fire consumed it, pushing it back with a force that shook the very ground beneath them. But the creature wasn't finished. It snarled, raising its other hand, and the ground beneath Ilara's feet cracked and split. The darkness surged forward again, faster this time. Ilara stumbled, his focus wavering as the power inside him burned out of control. Just as the darkness was about to overtake him, Alara did the only thing he could think of. He reached deep inside himself, into the heart of the dragon's power. And then he let go. For a moment, everything stopped. The air was still, the ground silent. Alara stood there, his chest heaving, the golden flame flickering softly in his hand. The creature paused, sensing the shift. Ilara's eyes glowed, and with a burst of energy, he released the full force of the dragon's fire, sending it crashing into the creature with all his might. The darkness screamed as it was engulfed in golden light, burning away like mist under the sun, and with one final, desperate howl, it vanished, leaving Ilara standing alone in the clearing. The fire in his hands dimming, Ilara stood in the silence, the fire fading from his hands. He had defeated the creature this time, but the darkness was still out there, and the battle had only just begun. Ilara stood in the clearing, the echo of the battle still hanging in the air. His chest heaved with exhaustion, and his hands, still warm from the golden fire, were trembling. The darkness had been defeated for now, but he knew it wasn't over. The creature had been just the beginning. The darkness had felt him, seen his power. It would not rest until it had consumed him completely. The forest around him was quiet again, but there was an ominous feeling in the air. The wind had stopped, the birds had gone silent, and even the trees seemed to hold their breath. Ilara looked down at his hands, his fingers still glowing faintly with the dragon's fire. He had won this battle, but the war was far from over. "What? Now?" he whispered to himself, the words barely escaping his lips. What did it all mean? He had the power of the dragons inside him, but it still didn't feel like enough. The darkness was out there, and Ilara knew it wouldn't stop until it had found him again, and next time it wouldn't be a creature like that. It would be something much worse. He turned, his eyes scanning the empty clearing. The woman, the one who had taught him how to control the fire, was nowhere to be found. He had hoped she would be here, to guide him, to tell him what to do next. Had left him alone. Perhaps that was part of the test. "I'm not ready," he muttered, his voice breaking. He clenched his fists, willing the fire to return, but it only flickered weakly. He could feel the power inside him, but it felt distant, out of reach. Suddenly, a soft sound broke the stillness, a rustling in the trees. Ilara's heart raced and he spun around, his breath catching in his throat. A figure stepped into the clearing, their silhouette outlined against the faint glow of the fading light. It was a mantle, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell just past his shoulders. His eyes were a striking shade of green, sharp and intense. "Ilara," the man said, his voice calm but filled with authority. "It's time." Ilara's pulse quickened. He didn't recognize the man, but something about him seemed familiar, like a memory just beyond his grasp. The man moved closer, his eyes never leaving Ilara's. "Who are you?" Ilara demanded, his voice shaking. He was tired physically, emotionally, and spiritually. He didn't have the strength to fight again. The man paused, studying him with a steady gaze. "I am a guardian," he said simply. "I have been watching over you since the day the dragon's fire entered your soul. You have a role to play." "Ilara?" "A role that cannot be avoided." Ilara frowned, confusion clouding his thoughts. "A role? What role?" "I'm not a hero. I'm just a boy." "I'm not ready for this." "You will be," the man said. "But only if you choose to embrace it. The darkness is not gone. It knows you now, and it will come for you again." The weight of his words settled on Ilara's shoulders like a heavy cloak. He had felt it, the pull of the darkness, the sense that it was always lurking just beyond the horizon. But hearing it from this stranger made it real. The battle he had just fought was only a small part of something much larger. "I don't understand," Ilara said, his voice faltering. "I'm not ready. I don't even know how to control this power yet." "You never will fully control it," the man said. "The power of the dragon's fire is wild. It is untamed. But it is also a part of you now. The fire is not just about destruction, it is about creation. It is about balance. You must learn to use it wisely, or it will consume you. Alara's chest tightened at the thought. Consume him. Felt like everything in his life had led him to this moment, this decision. But what if he wasn't strong enough? What if the darkness was too much for him to handle? The man took a step closer, his eyes piercing into Ilara's soul. There is more at stake than just your survival, Alara. The world is on the brink of destruction. The darkness will not stop with you. It will spread. It will consume everything in its path unless you stop it. Ilara swallowed hard, his throat dry. He had already lost so much. The dragon had died. The village he had known seemed so far away now, a place that no longer felt like home. And now, this a battle against something far greater than anything he had ever imagined. The man's gaze softened slightly. You are not alone, Alara. You have allies. It's others who are waiting for you. They have the knowledge you need, the guidance you seek, but first you must choose. You must choose whether to face this darkness and embrace the legacy of the dragon, or turn away and let the world fall. Alara stood there in silence, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. The darkness was coming. He couldn't ignore it. The world was in danger, and he had the power to stop it. But was he strong enough? Was he ready to accept the responsibility that came with the dragon's fire? I choose, Alara said, his voice steady though his heart raced. I choose to fight. The man nodded, a faint smile tugging at the corners of his lips. Then, it begins. And with that, Alara knew that his journey had truly just begun. The darkness was still out there, waiting. But now, so was he. Alara had made his choice. He would fight. But the path ahead would not be easy. Would the fire inside him be enough to stand against the darkness? A real battle was about to begin.